Welcome to IELTS CELPIP MasterPrep, your trusted source for real exam-based practice tests. Every test you see here is inspired by current exam trends, and each one comes with full model solutions to help you master every section. Here's our daily schedule. IELTS tests drop every morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and CLP tests every evening at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. No matter which exam you're preparing for, we've got you covered every single day. Are you ready for today's test? Give it your best shot and comment your score. The top 5 scorers will be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter and awards. Want your name included? Let's begin.
Part 1. You will hear a woman calling City Hall to ask about parking permits. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10. Hello, I'm calling about the residential parking permit program. My name is Karen Tremblay, and I just moved to Maplewood Drive in the Riverside neighborhood. I'd like to find out how to get a permit for street parking near my home. Welcome to the City of Brampton Parking Services. My name is Derek. I'd be happy to help you with that, Karen. So, for the Riverside area, we actually have 2 types of residential permits available. There's the annual permit, which covers you for 12 full months, and then there's a seasonal permit that runs from May through October only. Oh, I see. I think the annual one makes more sense for me since I'll need parking year-round. How much does the annual permit cost? The annual residential permit is $75. That's actually been reduced from $90 last year. Council approved a lower fee starting in January to make it more affordable for residents. You can pay online, by phone, or in person at City Hall. $75, that's not bad at all. Now, I'm curious, my partner also has a vehicle. Can we get 2 permits for the same address? Yes, absolutely. Each household on Maplewood Drive is allowed a maximum of 3 permits. So you and your partner can each have 1, no problem. However, I should mention that the second and third permits are slightly higher, they're $85 each. That's good to know, we'll probably just need 2. And what documents do I need to bring if I come in person? I want to make sure I have everything ready. Sure, you'll need 3 things: a valid Ontario driver's license showing your current Maplewood Drive address, your vehicle registration, and a recent utility bill, like a hydro or gas bill, as proof of residence. If your license still shows your old address, you can bring a piece of government mail addressed to your new home instead. My license actually still has my old address on it because I just moved 3 weeks ago. So I'll use a government letter. Now, once I get the permit, where exactly am I allowed to park? Great question. The permit is valid only on your own block of Maplewood Drive and the 2 adjacent blocks. So you can't use it across town or anything like that. Also, even with the permit, there's a 72-hour maximum parking limit in 1 spot. You have to move your car at least once within that window, otherwise you could still receive a ticket. 72 hours, got it. One more thing, I noticed some signs on my street that say parking is restricted between 2 and 6 a.m. Does the residential permit override that restriction? Yes, that's actually the main benefit of the permit. The overnight restriction between 2 and 6 a.m. applies to everyone without a permit, but your residential permit specifically exempts you from that bylaw. So you can leave your car on the street overnight without any worry. Perfect. And is there a way I can apply online instead of coming in, or do I absolutely have to visit City Hall? It's a bit hard for me to get there during business hours because I work until 5:30 on weekdays. You can definitely apply online through our My Brampton portal. You'd just upload scanned copies of those same documents I mentioned. Processing usually takes about 3 to 5 business days online. But here's some good news, we're also open on Saturday mornings now, from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., so that might be a convenient option for you if you'd prefer to handle it in person and get it right away. That is the end of Part 1. You now have some time to check your answers to Part 1. Part 2. You will hear a corporate announcement about a company expanding operations in Canada. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra Elliston, Vice President of Strategic Growth at Pinnacle Technologies. I'm thrilled to announce that, effective July 1st, Pinnacle will be opening a brand new regional headquarters in Calgary, Alberta. This expansion represents a $200 million investment and is expected to create approximately 800 full-time positions over the next 3 years. Our primary focus at the Calgary facility will be developing clean energy software solutions, an area where Canada is rapidly becoming a global leader. We chose Calgary specifically because of its highly skilled workforce, its proximity to the energy sector, and the strong support we've received from the provincial government, which has offered us a 10-year tax incentive. Current employees in our Toronto office who wish to transfer will receive a generous relocation package covering moving costs, temporary housing for up to 6 months, and a one-time settlement bonus of $5,000. We'll also be partnering with the University of Calgary to launch a co-op internship program starting in the fall semester. Hiring for senior engineering and project management roles will begin on May 15th through our careers portal. We believe this move positions Pinnacle at the forefront of Canada's growing technology landscape. Thank you, and further details will be shared via an internal memo this Friday. That is the end of Part 2. You now have some time to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3. You will hear a discussion between employees about adopting new technology at their company. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30. Hey, did you two get the memo about the new project management platform? They want us all switched over by the end of May. I saw it. Honestly, I'm not thrilled. We just got comfortable with the current system, and now they want us to learn something entirely different. I actually played around with the demo version last night. It's quite intuitive. The interface reminds me of tools I used at my previous job in Vancouver. That's encouraging, Sophie. My concern is more about migrating all our existing client files. We have 3 years of data in the old system. Exactly. And what about the Winnipeg office? They're still dealing with that bandwidth issue. A cloud-based platform could be really slow for them. Fair point, but IT said they're upgrading the Winnipeg connection next week. Besides, the new tool has an offline mode for when connectivity drops. Oh, I didn't know about the offline feature. That actually addresses my biggest worry about working from the cottage in Muskoka during the summer. Okay, the offline mode is nice. But who's going to train everyone? Our team alone has 14 people, and half of them resist any kind of change. Management mentioned hiring a training consultant. Plus, they're offering a 2-week overlap period where both systems run side by side. A parallel run is smart. That way nobody loses access to anything critical during the transition. Marcus, doesn't that ease your concern a bit? Somewhat. I suppose if the training is solid and we keep the old system as a backup temporarily, I can get on board. Great. Why don't we volunteer our department to pilot it first? If we iron out the issues early, we'll look proactive to upper management. That is the end of Part 3. You now have some time to check your answers to Part 3. Part 4. You will hear a lecture on economic inequality and social mobility in Canada. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Welcome back, everyone. Today we have Professor Mark Osei from the University of Toronto joining us to discuss economic inequality and social mobility in Canada. Professor Osei, many Canadians assume our country is more equal than the United States. Is that still accurate? Thank you, Helen. That perception is increasingly outdated. While Canada's Gini coefficient remains lower than America's, the gap has narrowed considerably since the 1990s. The top 1% of Canadian earners now capture roughly 14% of total national income, nearly double what it was 4 decades ago. That's striking. What factors are driving this widening divide? Several forces are at play. Housing costs in cities like Vancouver and Toronto have skyrocketed, effectively locking younger generations out of wealth accumulation. Meanwhile, wage growth for middle-income workers has barely kept pace with inflation, even as corporate profits have surged. Some argue that strong social programs offset income inequality. Do you agree? Only partially. Programs like universal healthcare and the Canada Child Benefit do cushion the blow, but they haven't prevented a decline in intergenerational mobility. Recent data from Statistics Canada shows that a child born into the bottom income quintile now has roughly a 30% chance of remaining there as an adult. What role does education play in bridging this gap? Education remains the single most reliable pathway upward, but access isn't truly equal. Students from wealthier families are still significantly more likely to attend university, and they graduate with far less debt, giving them an enormous head start in the labor market. Are there regional differences we should consider? Absolutely. Atlantic provinces and parts of northern Canada face persistent structural disadvantages, fewer high-paying industries, limited infrastructure, and outmigration of skilled workers. Prairie provinces have experienced volatility tied to resource extraction, creating boom and bust cycles that destabilize household incomes. Finally, what policy direction would you recommend to meaningfully improve social mobility? We need a three-pronged approach. First, expand affordable housing through federal-provincial partnerships. Second, reform post-secondary funding so that family income doesn't determine educational outcomes. And third, invest in rural and northern economic diversification. Without coordinated action on all three fronts, inequality will continue to entrench itself across generations. That is the end of Part 4. You now have some time to check your answers to Part 4. That is the end of the CELPIP listening test. You now have some time to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with other test takers, and subscribe so you never miss your daily IELTS and CELPIP tests. Drop your score in the comments. Your name could be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter. Stay consistent, stay focused, and keep leveling up with MasterPrep.